Like every other Thursday, this is Jacob Milton. I'm welcoming each and every one of the viewers of We Are the People to join us. I mention most of the time that every week I pick a topics and I invite people, those who has more grasp on the subject, and they share their views and expertise, which is beneficial to Bangladeshi community as well as other immigrant community, those who are living in this country side by side with peace and harmony for hundreds of years. Now, this is an election year, especially when someone like Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or some other candidate, they're trying to get the nomination or get elected as the president of this country. They pick one peculiar subject. Any failure of the society, they need a scapegoat that they can blame. What is their scapegoat for the last couple of years? Immigration. They forget that they themselves are the children of immigrants, those who came to this country hundreds of years ago. Sometimes I wonder, when Puritans starts coming from Britain to this country to find a sanctuary for their religious practice, it was Native American who did not wanted even to entertain them, but they came here anyway. For their convenience, they start bringing slaves from Africa. I don't know how Chinese and other Indians ended up in this country. Whatever way it is, they are here, like European came. I hate to say Caucasian, white, black, yellow, I hate to say it, but all are human. They just ended up here. One of my best friend and one of the attorney I worked with, his name is David Korngold, who happens to be here today. He says, it's immigrant who made this country great. I don't know. If he feels that way, probably that make him normal, that make him a good human being. On the other hand, you remember a senator from Vermont, Strom Thurmond, who says blacks are pig and at the nighttime sleep with the black and make even children. That is a funny part. Today, me got lucky to have one special guest. I'll give you a description how we met her, but I would say I'm lucky to meet her. I'll give you a small story in a second. Me and my friend David Korngold went to New Jersey to pull out one Bangladeshi immigrant from the prison. And suddenly, we came across to a beautiful lady who happens to work as a program director of First Friends of New Jersey and New York. She's a social worker working for the immigrant, sacrificed her time, sacrificed her other resources. When you describe a human being as a good human being, what is the definition? A human being who sacrificed her time and resources for the well-being for the others. Me and David, we thought it's a good idea to bring Sally to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you the lady we met in New Jersey, a beautiful lady. Her name is Sally Pillay. Sally, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Thank you very much that you made your time and you drive from New Jersey to here, sit down on this table and talking to us. David, like always.
Thank you for having me, as always.
David, you are a good friend of Bangladeshi community. You are working for Bangladeshi community for a while. This election cycle, when every candidate, especially from the Republican side, there's a 4 candidate, I think 3 candidates is still running. Donald Trump, John Kasich, and Ted Cruz.
Right.
Other than John Kasich, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, it's like they're acting like some immigrant take some of their land or did something, like there's a personal vendetta against the immigrant. What do you think that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz acting the way they're acting?
I can't speak for Donald Trump because honestly, I don't know that he's completely sane. Just to be blunt. Ted Cruz. I mean, I find it ironic that the man's last name is Cruz.
Cruz.
His father was from Cuba, and this guy doesn't like immigrants. He wasn't even born here. He was born in Canada. This is the most preposterous thing I've ever heard. So, and the person he was running against, Rubio, who dropped out, was also from Cuba. I don't understand these people. You don't like immigrants? Maybe you shouldn't be in this country if you don't like immigrants. I mean, it's the most preposterous thing I've ever heard.
There is another. This is really interesting. You mentioned that themselves the children of the immigrant, but one thing is sad, I would say. Ted Cruz is a guy who used to work for Chief Justice Jerry Rehnquist.
Mm-hmm.
A guy was working with the Supreme Court Chief Justice, and the way he talks about immigrants, like he's one of the illiterate people when it's come to the law. Like, what is your comments? A lawyer worked for Jerry Rehnquist, knows this country's law, knows the policy of the immigration. He took anti-immigrant position. What do you think? He just wanted to get nomination, or he wanted to get elected?
Well, you're kind of putting me on the spot here, so I'm really going to have to voice my true thoughts. I don't believe Ted Cruz is a man with vision. I don't believe he's a man with skills. I think his greatest skill is, please excuse me if it's the wrong place for such a term, but I think his greatest skill is brown-nosing. That's what got him elected. That's what got him to clerk for the Supreme Court and whatever else he's done. That's what he does best. And I can't imagine that the skill we want for the President of the United States is somebody who's skilled in brown-nosing. It makes no sense to me. So, to me, this person is just completely disqualified from any public office. He has nothing to offer us. Just kick him out.
I think that's well said. Sally, how long ago you came to this country, or your parents came to this country?
My parents are actually not in this country. I am actually from South Africa, and what has driven me in terms of the compassion in really helping another human being is the fact that I grew up under the apartheid regime. I, experienced it, watched it fall. And if anyone knows the history of South Africa, knows that, Gandhi was very, very instrumental in fighting for Indian rights in South Africa, and, got to experience a lot of that oppression. And when I came to the United States, I actually arrived here in 2002 and went to grad school here, and decided that I wanted to do something involving human rights, and got a graduate degree in international community development, which is also human rights and social justice based. It falls under the realm of international social work, and I got involved with First Friends. And around in 2008, it was very shocking and appalling to see. At that point in time, it was one detention facility, the Elizabeth Detention Center, and it was just arriving asylum seekers detained at that facility, and it shocked me because didn't imagine, did not understand that United States was actually doing this. And at that point in time, I think a lot of people as well in the community did not even know that immigration detention existed. And I think that has fundamentally changed so differently from where it was at to what it is right now. And I kind of stayed on board, and I loved working with individuals. And actually the name First Friends was born because we became that first friend to a refugee, to a refugee, to an asylum seeker who was coming to this country and had no...
Sally, is it fair to say you are the founder of this organization?
No, I'm not. I'm not the founder. This started off over 13 years ago. It was a group of individuals providing ESL and Bible studies to immigrants in detention, and when they read the verse, "Welcome the stranger," the guards at the facility thought it was going to be an uprising against them and said, "We can't have you in here." And as such, they decided to open a visitation and start a visitation program. So this started off way before my time being involved with the organization. And of course, that really changed the scope of the work of First Friends, because immigration detention changed so drastically. With not just arriving asylum seekers being placed in detention, but enforcement, internal enforcement that was taking place, where people now were getting funneled into detention, being picked up from the community, raids were happening, and based on the color of your skin, of course, you were in jeopardy of being placed in immigration detention.
Yeah. When me and David went to your office, you said something that at Hudson County, it's not immigration detention center, it's a regular prison.
Yes, it is. It is.
But U.S. government is placing all those immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal, they're placing them next to the criminal of that prison facility.
So a lot of the county jails, and David can also speak to this, in the United States, there are over 250 detention facilities and county jails.
Are they run by the government, or it's a civilian prison? It's a
so majority of the facilities are run by private corporations. So the federal government actually contracts out. And that's where it becomes really sticky, is because the federal government decided, okay, we're going to hold X amount of people in detention on a given day, and Congress decided to place a bed mandate, which is called a quota. No other law enforcement has a bed mandate, and people don't know this, but there's a bed mandate of 33,400. I think it was started off with 34,000, but there's 34,000 people on a given day that are detained in detention. Like I said, Congress,
34,000?
Yes, on a given day, and it's a bed mandate, which we are trying to advocate to see an end of, because no other law enforcement has this. So human beings are actually treated as a commodity. If you think about it, the privatization of a lot of the prison system, which is huge. It's huge here. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States, where immigrants are now funneled in, and as they funneled in, it's like the dollars coming out. So at the end of the day, it's an incentive. It's a huge incentive for the private corporations, because they spend a lot of campaign money to lobby and campaign contributions to the politicians in order for them to meet their interest. So a lot of them are run by CCA, which is Corrections Corporations of America, and the GEO Group.
And Correction Corporation of America is a civil entity. It has nothing to do with the government.
No, it's a private, for-profit prison entity who just contracts and gets all of these contracts from the federal government and holds people in detention for X amount of dollars.
Sally, just give me a sec. David, there's a myth in this country, in society, that says prison is a business. It's not correctional facility. They just put that name, correctional facility. It's a business. The way Sally is talking about it, seems like now government is recognizing that public views of the correctional facility, it's a business. It's not correcting people. Does that make sense to you? Well, criminals are there. They have to be corrected through programs and other things. But the one she is talking about, immigrants are coming, they're not criminal. You can say that they break a law when they are coming into this country, but for that law, can they be placed next to a murderer, a robber?
Yes, so obviously the depth, the troubling depth of this issue is profound. Sally, I just wanted to say, I want to congratulate on the wonderful, 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 important work that you do. It's an honor to share a table with you. It really is. This issue that you're bringing up, where people are filling beds in order to line the pockets of privatized correctional facilities, it's very, very troubling on any number of levels. You know, I like the way you put it, Sally, that the commoditization of these people.
Yes. Clearly,
they have bed quotas. You know, there's certain things that people, no matter how far right crazy you are, people can agree that the commoditization of people is wrong. It's wrong because it dehumanizes people. And when you dehumanize people, it's the equivalent of enslaving them. And when you mistreat people to the extent where you don't even recognize their right to exist, you feel that they should be placed in a cell because somebody's pockets need to be lined and they've bid on this contract, the profound immorality of that position it's just not tolerable in a free society. And I believe I believe that this might be what you're saying, this kind of anti-immigrant, this type of anti-immigrant positions that people are taking for preposterous reasons, ultimately
but they are doing it. Anti-immigrant rhetoric is becoming popular into the media.
Yeah.
Like, Sally, you was talking about 7 Bangladeshi people yesterday on Huffington Post. Can you tell me, share it with my viewers?
So I just want to backtrack a little bit. Last year, it was late summer, we saw about 40 individuals.
They're from Bangladesh?
They were from Bangladesh,
okay.
Who were transferred from the southern border into New Jersey. And often we are seeing immigration just funneling people, transferring them to various different locations, remote locations, away from family or any kind of support. And we were very surprised and shocked to see these 40 individuals arriving, very young individuals, I would say in their 20s, shocked at the conditions that they were actually being held in. And of course, a lot of them got transferred to various different locations all over the United States. But what actually happened, a lot of them, because they wanted to fight for their freedom, they took it upon themselves to actually engage in hunger strikes. So starting late last year, just a little bit before Thanksgiving, South Asian men from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, Nepal, India, various different locations, over 100 of them in various different locations. It seemed to the message seemed to have gone across all of the facilities, and they started to engage in these hunger strikes. But what was happening is that we were hearing, and you can read a lot about this in Drum, Desi Rising, and Moving Up, that a lot of these individuals were being placed in solitary confinement. There was a lot of verbal threats against them. If they didn't eat, they were going to be placed in solitary confinement, and it has been very traumatizing. If you think about the context of a lot of these people fleeing into this country, they are refugees, you know, it's just different in the way the judge is granting them the status.
Sally, probably this is not the subject I wanted to ask you this question. You use one word, excuse me, solitary confinement. Do you have any idea what does they do in a solitary confinement?
So solitary confinement, which immigration calls it as administration segregation, but solitary confinement is when they place individual alone in a very small unit. They can call it because it's protection for themselves.
Are you aware that in solitary confinement, most of the time guards, they beat them up, physically abuse them? Are you aware of it?
Oh yes, I know that there's a lot of abuse happens, death can happen, there's a lot of re-traumatization that occurs. Individuals who have mental health issues are being placed in solitary confinement is being overused. And that's why there's a push to try to end solitary confinement, not just for the detainee population, but for the inmate population as well, because they've seen the traumatic effects of placing people in the solitude without any support.
Do you think an immigrant, immigration law and everything, those are not criminal law, is it?
Wow, that's a very difficult question. So it's considered not criminal law, it's considered civil, and I think that that's completely preposterous is the only word I can use, because the difference between civil and criminal is that criminal takes possession of the body by the state in order to inflict whatever resolution the state believes is appropriate. In immigration, likewise, the state takes possession of the body, whether it's deportation or whether it's detention. The state controls the body, and in common law in England, there were 2 types of generalized punishment aside from death, and that was imprisonment, and then exile. And immigration is actually the exact equivalent of exile, which under the common law, which still exists today unless current law has abrogated it, people have a right to criminal representation based on the fact that the state takes possession of the body. Therefore, it is not civil, even though the Supreme Court has ruled it is. They're wrong, they're incorrect. It is actually criminal, and all the criminal laws and rights should attach to these people who are in desperate need of these rights.
And what's your opinion about the way Sally described about solitary confinement, the way they are being physically abused? Even some people dies in a solitary confinement. You see even in a newspaper, even sometimes in electronics media.
Well, I personally, I mean, solitary confinement is just a horrific punishment. I mean, we're all human beings. We all understand that we need to be in touch with other people, because if we don't have social contact, then our mental health breaks down. And that's the point of solitary confinement. So I don't understand why this is something that is considered legal. It's a form of torture. There's no other way to describe it. And then, in addition, you have somebody who is not just scared of being in solitary confinement. Imagine how traumatic it is to be cooped up and have everything controlled by somebody else. You cannot do anything for yourself. Just the fear that imparts in somebody. But then the abuse and the restriction of unnecessarily of any ability to have exercise or to speak to the outside world. It's just incredible. It's just really incredible that this country would stoop to that kind of thing. And I think that maybe being a lawyer, my vocation would be to go to the courts. I think that's something we should look seriously into.
Sally, couple of minutes ago you mentioned one CCA or something, that prison. What is that full form?
Corrections Corporation of America.
Are they controlled by, are they following, like someone is checking that whether they are following all those government and states regulation?
So there's a lack of oversight and accountability with a lot of these facilities, because it seems like we have an issue. One of the facilities in two detention facilities in New Jersey are run by private corporations. Delaney Hall is run by Community Education Center, and Elizabeth Detention Center is run by Corrections Corporations of America. What we have seen on the ground is there is a lack of accountability and transparency. There is the detention standards, but it's not enforceable. So a lot of times we'll hear that facilities are honoring the 2011 detention standards, which is not mandated. It's not mandated for them to follow, but they'll tell us they're following these standards for individuals who are placed in these facilities, which would mean access to legal services, access to a telephone, things like that. And what are some of those regulations or those procedures that come into place? However, we don't see that happening. Every day we get inundated. We have a hotline in all of these facilities, and we get several calls from detainees due to the lack of medical care or the food quality, the horrible food quality that we see, or the way they're being treated in detention, the way their rights are being violated. And it's very hard for us to fight ICE now and say, listen, these people are held in this facility, because now we have to go to also the facility, and it's a cross between the facility and then ICE, who has the regulation over the facility as well, but they are not enforcing the standards. And I think at the end of the day, we should be seeing an end to detention. It should be used on a case-by-case basis, and they don't do that on a case-by-case basis in terms of determining who's a flight risk or who's a security threat. And yet they're funneling people into detention because it's a way to fill the beds. At the end of the day, it's an incentive and it's a money issue. We can see that across the board. And again, it's the taxpayers' money. You are the one that's paying for people to be held in detention. Billions of dollars a year is spent for immigration detention when there are alternative forms of detention. That it's the honest truth. There are cheaper alternative forms of detention, and yet people every day are placed in immigration detention.
Another thing, I think you are aware of it. All those privately run prison system, do you know all those inmates, even still they're saying either detainees or inmate, they're having hard time to communicate with their loved one or friends or family outside their prison system. Most of the time nowadays, when all the phone company cut the price, they're saying unlimited call, long distance. If you use your cell phone, you can call Texas. That's unlimited. They're not charging you per minute. Do you know that damn privately run prison system, they are charging 25 cents, 30 cents per minute of those inmates?
It's actually more. In New Jersey in particular, there's been a fight. The FCC made a regulation the federal commissions, trying to actually lower the phone rates, because we've seen across the board, and different states have been taking a stance on it, that there is huge commissions, kickbacks that jails are making out of, well, again, you're making, not only are the prices stagnant in the commissary, but then you are finding now they are charging people to connect a call, you know, the connection fees or the commissions that they are deriving from these phone calls. And again, it's just out of human suffering here. You know, if you look at the context of it, we just want to keep taking from the vulnerable population, which doesn't have. So a lot of them are indigent. They don't have access to funds, so then they lose that contact to their loved one. Fortunately for us, if individuals call us, we are able to connect them to their loved ones. But there's over 2,000 immigrants detained on a given day in New Jersey. We don't have the capacity to, unfortunately, help all of them. It's a very small organization to help each and every individual, but we get calls all the time, and we know how difficult it is for them to access to call a lawyer. We have to connect that call to an attorney.
I remember when our guy, Mr. Mehi, he tried to get in touch with us. You are the one who helped him to get in touch with me.
And to his relative who was getting in touch with David as well.
People are making nowadays, there's a lot of phone company, it's called VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol. Those are getting free minutes. When you are calling using internet, those are free call. There is nothing. There's one particular company, those who are getting the contract of the phone service of entire immigration detention center. That phone company's name is Phone Power. They're using VoIP service, and do you have any idea? They're charging 45 cents per minute.
Oh, yeah. So it's very clear that this is a racket, and something needs to be done to curtail this.
They're charging 45 cents per minute, and guess what? When they're calling, they're recording the voice, they're delivering to the, and that's fine with everybody because it's a detention center. But charging them on a phone is VoIP, is Voice over Internet Protocol. It's a free phone. Charging 45 cents to a guy who just happens, like, do you know in a prison system there is a joke. Once a detainee or prisoner, they're not human. They don't consider them as a human. They call them by number. Yeah. How many people? They're not human. They're dead. So when all those people detained in a prison system or detention facilities, I don't know how to describe their food problem, medical problem, and at the same time solitary confinement. We are talking about every court in this country, they are saying, in God we trust. How do you describe every single elected official going to the television screen? He says this country is created based on the Judeo-Christian theology. Is this Judeo-Christian theology the way they are treating immigrants? Sally, what's your feelings?
Honestly, I think I am personally shocked. If you think about United States stands for liberty, justice, freedom, and you look at there's a price for freedom here in this country. And if you think about if this is Christian values or any religious values for the matter, where you treat another human being, I don't think that's any value for an individual to be treated that way. I think that the system is just made to deter people. And I think that's the issue. United States created this huge monster. We always call it a monster, and they have not envisioned how huge this monster, and we can't even kill this monster anymore. But it is just huge and complex, and human beings are meant to suffer in it. So you can mentally break down and say, I'm signing out. I'm voluntarily decided I need to go back to my country, even though I
cannot take this anymore.
Yes. And even though I know
they
my
are
life,
being persecuted in their country.
And oftentimes we hear people, once they just set foot in their country, they're either getting killed, or they're being persecuted or put in jail in their countries. So this is the repercussions. We're sending them back to face severe persecution. Even with the 7 Bangladeshi that was out yesterday, they were actually asking. For the presidential candidate Clinton to recognize their plight and say, if we go back to Bangladesh, we are going to be killed because our life is in danger. We're going to be threatened again. So, it's a huge concern for a lot of the asylum seekers who are facing deportation and are coming to the shores of U.S. just to seek refuge.
David, you are familiar with the same question I asked her. Every court you goes to every single day, on the top of the head of the judge, it says, "In God we trust." And all those public officials, they goes to the television screen and all those public meeting, and they says, this country built based on Judeo-Christian value. The way we are talking about prison system and privately run detention center, do you see any Judeo-Christian value in those detention business?
No, not at all. It's outrageous. I'm personally outraged. I was only peripherally aware of the problem. Thank you very much for bringing it to the forefront. Yeah, I'm outraged, completely outraged. Something has to be done. There's no question. I think that with your help and perhaps your help, we can get something done, because there's no way that any person with Judeo-Christian values or Muslim values could sit and allow this country to continue to treat people like this. We're supposed to be, a great nation, and the reason why we're great is because we open our hearts. Mm-hmm. And to treat people like this is just beyond the pale. There is no excuse for it. There is no way we could sit and just allow it to continue.
David, we are going to continue our conversation. We are going to take a small commercial break. We'll be right back. Sally, we're going to come back. Audience, I'm talking to Sally Pillay, who is the program director of Friends of New Jersey and New York, and I'm talking to Attorney David Korngold. We're going to take a small commercial break and we'll be right back.
Usually, no one likes the hassle of going to court, dealing with government agencies, or law enforcement. The reality is, we live in a world where all of that is inevitable. Legal Network International LLC has all the legal sources of the 21st century. We are armed with dozens of attorneys, CPAs, and other needed professionals. Here is a word from one of the attorneys at Legal Network International LLC.
Hello, I'm Donna Sullivan. I'm an attorney in Queens, New York. I attended St. John's University School of Law in Queens, and since I attended law school in Queens, I've been living in Queens. I practice in the area of criminal defense work, and I've been doing it for almost 30 years. I've been working with the same person, doing the same work for all of these years, and I'm proud to say that my partner is my partner in crime, Edward R. Hammack. The experiences that we've had together over the past 30 years are things that I would never give up or ever try to redo. Because from those experiences, I've learned a lot about life, and I've learned a lot about community, because community is the core of our lives.
সুধীবৃন্দ, আমরা বাংলাদেশে এবং এখানে প্রতিদিন অনেক সমস্যার মুখোমুখি হই। আমাদের মধ্যে অনেক যোগ্য মানুষ আছেন আমাদের কমিউনিটিতে, যারা বাংলাদেশে পেশাজীবী ছিলেন, প্রফেসর ছিলেন, রাজনীতিবিদ ছিলেন, এমপি ছিলেন, মন্ত্রী ছিলেন, অথবা বড় সেক্রেটারি ছিলেন, এডিশনাল সেক্রেটারি ছিলেন, আর্মির জেনারেল ছিলেন, নৌবাহিনীর অ্যাডমিরাল ছিলেন, এয়ার ভাইস মার্শাল ছিলেন, এয়ার মার্শাল ছিলেন, এখন যারা প্রবাসে আছেন, হয় কেউ এখানে ভিজিট করছেন অ্যাজ এ ভিজিটর, অথবা এখানে এখন পার্মানেন্টলি থাকেন। আমি আপনাদের সাথে কথা বলতে ইচ্ছুক। আমি আপনাদের কার্যকলাপ, দেশে থাকাকালীন দেশ সেবার জন্য যা করেছেন, এগুলো নিয়ে কথা বলতে ইচ্ছুক। কারণ আপনাদের এই কথাগুলো, আপনাদের এই অভিজ্ঞতাগুলো দর্শক যারা এই শোটা দেখে থাকেন তাদেরকে অনেক উপকৃত করবে দেশ সম্পর্কে নিজেদেরকে জানার। আপনারা যদি দয়া করে একটু সময় খরচ করেন আমাদের দেশের লোকজনদেরকে অ্যাওয়্যার করার জন্য বিভিন্ন ইস্যুতে, আমি আপনাদেরকে আমন্ত্রণ জানাবো এই শোতে। দয়া করে আমাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করুন। আমার শোয়ের প্রযোজকের টেলিফোন নাম্বার 917-722-1408। Again, 917-722-1408। আমি আপনাদেরকে আমন্ত্রণ জানাবো, যদি আপনারা দেশে কোনো পেশাজীবী থেকে থাকেন, অথবা উপদস্থ কোনো কর্মকর্তা থেকে থাকেন, অথবা নিম্ন পর্যায়ের কোনো কর্মচারীও থেকে থাকেন, আমি আপনার সাথে কথা বলতে ইচ্ছুক। আমাদের দেশ সম্পর্কে জানার, আমাদের দেশকে উন্নয়নের পথে এগিয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য আপনার অভিজ্ঞতা আমাদের সাথে শেয়ার করুন। আপনার অভিজ্ঞতা আমাদেরকে সাহায্য করবে আমাদের দেশকে জানার। আপনার অভিজ্ঞতা এবং আমাদের অভিজ্ঞতা যখন আমরা জনগণের সামনে তুলে ধরব, আমাদের দেশের উন্নতি হবে। আমাদেরকে সাহায্য করুন, এগিয়ে আসুন, আমাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করুন, যাতে আপনাকে তুলে ধরতে পারি, আপনার অভিজ্ঞতাকে তুলে ধরতে পারি সবার সামনে। ধন্যবাদ। Welcome back to the show. This is Jacob Milton. Audience, it's really sad that the subject we are talking today, probably one of your loved one or my loved one, is in a detention center and suffering. But what we are doing, what can be done? Sometimes my friend David Korngold, he says, Jacob, we should take a baseball bat and do something. He's not meaning any physical harm. He's saying that we have to do something really quick, legally. But what can be done? When we are living in a country, that country says every individual is proven innocent. Every individual is innocent until proven guilty, when the reality is right opposite. Every individual is guilty until proven innocent. So in this country, this is legal. Hey, putting people in a prison and making money, those are not illegal in this country. Those are business, selling. Do you see any end of this type of behavior from government's policy, that they are giving a contract to the people, build up a huge detention facility just for business reason and using innocent people?
You know, honestly, I think there's you know, power in people coming together, and not only in voices, but really doing something, making an action about it. We have been trying to make noise and do this, but we need more people, whether it's to march to the White House and, you know, really meet with your senators, your legislative individuals. Something has to be done. I think personally, I feel that detention is just overused. Not only there's mass incarceration here of the criminal population, but now we have mass incarceration of immigrants as well. So United States is now known for having the highest incarceration rates in the world. And I think that just tells you where it's driving to. And again, it leads to money. So it's a matter of how do you break down all of this and who should be really subjected to detention. And again, it raises the issue that I had mentioned before. Individualized cases should be really looked at in terms of who's a security threat, who should be really placed in detention, but not picking up people who have families, who has U.S. citizen children here. Green card holders are now subjected to immigration detention, which people don't know. I think it's really important what we really see in the media, because it desensitizes you. Independent media really covers immigration, but local mainstream media does not. So people in the communities are just looking at what's on TV, and ascertaining that, okay, immigrants are certain type of people and they should not belong in this country, when it's not the case. And it's a variety of people who are in detention. It's not just undocumented people who they consider as illegal, but it's green card holders who have ties in the community, who have been here 20, 30 years, who have ties in the community, have children, and it's difficult to see that separation occurring and families being torn apart by the system.
David, when someone comes to this country and seek political asylum and that asylum application is being granted, he becomes permanent resident. Say, sometimes people make a bad choice, either commit a crime or did something wrong, get arrested, whatever. Now, what happens when they get arrested and get convicted and of felony or something else that put that people on a deportation proceeding? Like, how the system work? Like, his asylum case has been approved. He cannot go back to his country because he's gonna be subject to the prosecution, he's gonna get killed, whatever. But still America think we should send that guy back to his country. What's the true immigration policy on that subject?
The true immigration policy, as I think we all know, is to try to keep as many immigrants out of this country as possible. That's a true immigration. It's wrong, and there's no other way to state it. Obviously, somebody who's going to be harmed if they go back to their country should not be sent back. It's just every reasonable person can understand that. But yet the laws are set up so that people are sent back even when they're going to be harmed, and it's heartless. It's criminal. And maybe people should seek asylum from the United States for harming them by sending them back to their country where they don't belong. That's where they should seek asylum. So, things need to change. They really do. It's not feasible. It's not tenable, and it's not a country. It's not what this country has been built on. And we need to change things because it can't stand like this.
I remember long time ago, probably in 90s, or I wouldn't be surprised if it is 80s. I was talking to a lawyer. He was one of the civil rights activists. He was very famous. I don't know. I'm sure Sally probably is not aware of it. Probably you heard his name. William Counselor.
Of course.
Okay. He used to say America adopt favorable immigration policy. Why they should adopt it? Why not Europe? He gave one of the seminar I enjoyed. It was in New York University. William Counselor says that in 17th or 18th century, when people were being persecuted based on their religious belief in Britain, they were looking for a place where they can go. They came to this country. Even though historians describe that Native American welcomed them and says, okay, you can stay. But ultimately, everyone knows then what happened next. The forefather of these countries, they realized that they were the beneficiary of the migration, that they came to this country, and this says that in the future, people can come, if they are being persecuted in their country, they can find their safe sanctuary in the same land where they came and stayed there. William Counselor, when he said it, he cried. And I remember somebody asked him, Mr. Counselor, why you are crying? He says, what do you think? My ancestors didn't born in this country. They born in a different country. They came here. I'm crying because right now, I'm trying to protect a couple of Native American, and Americans court are treating them like they're not from this country. That's why I'm crying. I'm looking at your face, David. I saw you. I see pain in your eyes, that you know that some injustice is going on for years. But public officials, lawmakers, no one is aware of it, or they are aware of it, just put their blind eyes and ears.
Wow. I don't think it's any surprise that politicians have blinders on. I don't think that politicians in general are necessarily honorable people who are there to help. Maybe they are at some place, maybe they used to be at some place, but in order to enter politics, politics is a very dirty business, and if you don't want to play dirty, you're not going to go there. And I think that's why a lot of right-minded people try to avoid politics. And so we have a system in this country where people who are looking to take advantage of the system, whether it's through bribes and graft or deal-making, backdoor, 3 men in a room kind of thing, where we have people at the top of this state who've been put in jail, other states as well, as not just New York. Politicians are notoriously dishonest. Really, it's really true. I remember a quote. A reporter who was assigned to cover the White House was scared. He asked a senior reporter, these are important people. How do I interview them? And he goes, let me give you some advice. The only way to look at a politician is down. So you know what? I don't think it's actually even a problem for us to believe that the politicians know what's going on, turn the blind eye. Many people are profiting from it, and they have no problem with it whatsoever. They've checked their conscience at the door when they got into politics.
Sally, one of the subjects you and me, we talked before shows. In Bangladesh, there is a political party named Jamaat-e-Islami. That happens to follow their religious belief. They believe Bangladesh should be Islamic country and all the Islamic law should be implemented in Bangladesh. Same way, Hindu Nationalist Party, they're running India, and they think all Hindu laws should be implemented in their country. But Jamaat-e-Islami, since 1970 as of today, they have zero record of terrorism, killing people, killing innocent civilian, or doing anything wrong. I'm not aware of any U.S. Department of State that they put Jamaat-e-Islami as a terrorist organization, because since 1970s there is no record. They did not participate in any types of act which considered like terrorist or terrorism. What happened? Current ruler, Awami League government, branded those party, because they are opposing their position, current ruling party, and saying, oh, they are terrorists. They are affiliated with ISIS or Al-Qaeda. But in reality, they are not. Now, that's the subject I think you and me, we talked about. David, do you think there is, like, even people, innocent people of Jamaat-e-Islami, member of, they are just practicing Muslim. They don't harm nobody. Now, they come to this country, and do you know what? They're scared to say even, I'm the member of that party. Do you know why? Because the current ruling party is telling the world, oh, that organization is terrorist organization, when even America do not consider them terrorist organization. What do you think these parties people, they should do? You are an attorney. I know it's hard to answer. When their government is saying they're terrorist organization based on their political favoritism, because they're opposing their position, what these people would do?
Yeah, that's very, very difficult. So this is something that we've talked about before behind closed doors.
Yes.
It's the basis for an asylum claim for these people, as well as many other people who are being unfairly branded as terrorists by the ruling party, which is has basically taken over. I know you've used the term "strong woman," the first strong woman to ever exist in the world, in the universe. There's never been one in history. This is just this is terror, but the terrorist is the actual people that are branding these people who are peace-abiding and peace-loving citizens who practice Islam with their heart and
not harming anybody.
Not harming anybody. These people are the victims, and the government are the actual terrorists.
Thank you. Well said, David. Sally, that is the true fact. That the way our country is going through right now, if you are supporting them, you are good. But if you are not supporting them, you are nothing but terrorist.
That's true.
That's the way Jamaat-e-Islami is being treated in the eyes of Bangladeshi government. I don't know how America is going to take them, because I heard that American ambassador meet the leader of the Jamaat-e-Islami every now and then. If the terrorist organization, how come American ambassador and all those other people meeting those people? And the country's prime minister, illegitimate prime minister, is saying that these are terrorists. I don't know what way I should answer. Sally, we are almost end of our time. Me and David, we thought about working with your organization and help you out. Personally, I'd like to do another talk show. Probably I wouldn't mind if I'd like to have you. I love to have you on a couple of shows. Even if some other folks, important folks from First Friends of New Jersey and New York, if they are kind enough, and if they would like to come to the show, I'd like to bring them, and I'd like to address some of the issues that you are very much aware of it. And I'd like to invite you to our office as well as continue our conversation, because I think David and me, we have a simple mission. I think in order to get justice or do something, someone have to throw a stone. And I believe David is kind of ready. And if David is going to throw the stone, I'm next to him. Most possibly, me and David will ask your help or your organization's help in order to prove our point that those privately run prison or detention center is not in favor of America. They are working for individual benefit, not for the benefit of America. Sally, I'll give you a word that you can look at the camera and say something to our viewers that you want to share with them.
Well, I just want to say that it would be great for the communities to learn a lot more about the issues of immigration, not just immigration detention alone, but really what is going on for when immigrants are coming to into this country just to seek refuge and safety, and are being placed behind bars and treated as criminals. As David had mentioned, this is a civil violation, but when they're placed in detention, they are treated worse than criminals, and they're not afforded any rights. So hopefully folks, if they really are interested in these issues, they should visit our website, firstfriendsnjny.org. Detention Watch Network is it's a national platform to learn about policies and issues that are affecting immigrants in the community, and that's a way to learn more and help to protect your communities.
Well said, Sally. David, we had a good conversation with Sally, and in the future we're going to bring her back and we're going to talk about those issues. After our conversation, I'm sure you have something in your mind. Would you like to share with the viewers?
Yes, absolutely.
What we should do?
No, I think that if you have a loved one or somebody you know in detention, call Sally, call Jacob, and we're going to do something about it. And this is not something that we take lightly, and I think we're going to try to make huge changes in the system.
David, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Sally,
Jacob,
thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Audience, on an immigration subject, there's a lot of things to cover. In one talk show, we cannot cover everything. Of course, me and David will invite Sally and other people to the show, see what can be done. Number one. Number two, an organization like First Friends of New Jersey and New York, they deserve our support. I will ask all those viewers, you should visit their website or contact us or contact Sally directly if you like to help them to facilitate some of the people like your friend, your family, my family, they are behind bar, please do it. Number two. Number three, a bodega owner or a mohori can file an asylum case. But when situation comes that someone is in a detention center, they cannot do nothing. I said it again and again. You have to find right people like David Korngold and some good attorneys, those who can provide effective legal representation, who can help you out to get something done. I can talk all day long, but I'm not an expert. I can scratch your back, but I'm not an attorney. I can open up a multi-service office. I cannot go to the court. How many times I would say, please wake up, be smart, spend money where someone who take the money and can do something at the court of law. Thank you for watching us, and if you are a refugee, if you like to file for asylum, or if your loved one is at the detention center, you can get David Korngold. The number you can call is area code 205 help you. Area code 205 help you. You can get David Korngold, you can get Sally, or you can get other people, those who are professional, who is always there to help us out. Thank you for watching us. I'll see you next time. Take care.